Welcome into the Paul Farrington Show. Paul, joined by Robert Ziggy Ziegler up at Harvard University for an NFL Week 8 reaction episode. Last night, Ziggy, big night for the show. Crossed 25,000 subscribers, 4.6 thousand concurrent during our live stream, was our highest viewed live ever. It was just a really, really fun night, having over 3,000 people listening to our Packers-Steelers reaction. We didn't get around to most of the league. That's why we're doing this episode today. But just an awesome night for the show. Really appreciate everybody helping us out. All of a sudden now, 30,000 feels more in play, right? For the channel here, as we're about to cross 26,000 subscribers, which is really cool. 30K is the next one on the list to cross off. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel and you're enjoying the content, we really, really appreciate it. It's just awesome.
You've done some comments, people saying they watch us a bunch and thought they were subscribed but weren't. Double check and make sure you actually are.
Yeah, it helps us out a ton. And, you know, if we ever are able to do this more consistently, like full-time stuff, it's that subscription really goes a long way for us. But we just appreciate everyone being here. Hope your Monday morning's off to a good start. A little bit of a hangover episode almost. Reacting to the week, and man, for us it kind of is after the Packers' big win last night and that second half performance. It's nice to let the dust settle a bit. You get out of the emotional highs and lows of Sunday, and we can kind of analyze everything, talk it out a little bit more civil than maybe we do on our reaction shows. We'll have Jack on tonight. I think we're going to do a live. It's not, I'll put it out on the community page. We'll put it out on Twitter. But we're going to try, maybe, what do you think, Maybe like 7:30 or something like that?
That seems about right.
Before the Monday night games.
Check our announcement on the pages. That'll tell you the latest information on what we're actually going to do.
Yeah, and we're gonna have Jack here, and he'll be in. I guess he was making bets with Packer fans at beyond what we know, because I know he made a bet with you.
I have no idea what Jack has agreed to.
Yeah, that's part of the issue, is that when we let Jack on his own for these things, you know, he just starts wheeling and dealing, and Jack can get a little bit ahead of himself. So I don't know. He might come on the show tonight and just start doing things that we have no clue he signed up for. But he'll do them. That's one thing about Jack. He will do them.
In fact, say that he would do the show without any clothing on.
Yeah,
we're not going to hold him to that. Please.
He said that. He also is wearing a Love jersey and a cheese hat, and he's reading an apology. And I mean, this is just the one bet we heard about, and we know there are several bets that were made. We'll break it all down with Jack later tonight on a live stream, so you can come and rag on him for getting the pick wrong there. Okay, so we're just going to bounce around all the games today, because yesterday we really just focused in on Green Bay and the Steelers. We're going to start, though, back at that game now that we've had a moment to really process it. And Ziggy, last night you came on the live stream and you said, this is the best team in football. Now, I know you mentioned when they're the best team in football. Are you just going to make that statement okay, when I'm doing my power rankings, Green Bay is number one?
I mean, the Green Bay Packers have played three teams that, at least at the time, we thought were contenders. What were the results? 27-13 over the Lions, 27-18 over the Commanders, and that was the healthy Commanders, too, of Jaden Daniels and everything.
Yeah, different team.
35-25 over the Steelers. When it counts, when the Packers are playing the teams they need to beat, they have played extremely well. And the way people are talking about them, you'd think they've lost or tied more than 2 games. They're 5-1-1. They've maintained their standing at the top of the NFC. To me, as I said, when this team is on, I think they have shown they are a league ahead of everybody else. And when they're not, they're still playing good enough generally to win. Now, obviously, they're going to have some big games coming up on their schedule where they'll continue to need to prove it. But nobody in the NFL has shown more than the Green Bay Packers through week 8.
Yeah, and I've said it before with their upcoming schedule at hosting the Panthers. And then you get Philly on Monday Night Football. This does seem to be. Then they go to the Giants and host the Vikings. So 3 of the next 4 feel very winnable for Green Bay. And that Philly game is at home. So this could be that stretch. We've been waiting for the Packers to get the energy back, to get the juice back in the fan base. This could absolutely be that stretch right now. And one thing I don't want to forget, and we mentioned this before the broadcast, I actually was making a cup of tea after our show last night. I love drinking tea at night, Ziggy. I'm a big fan of just having.
You don't drink tea.
Well, maybe not the way you do, but I like having, like my zinc and honey or whatever. What's wrong with that? It's a very normal
it's
tea.
Not tea.
Okay,
it's just not tea.
Fine. I like having my fake tea. Just having a cup of something warm. It just feels great. So like right now, got my coffee, talking over some football with you, but I'm making this cup of tea, and all of a sudden, I started thinking. And I was reading some of the comments. People were saying, "Hey, like let's not get too ahead of ourselves." And we were pretty jacked up on Green Bay last night. And I was like, "Oh man, I totally forgot about the Lions." Like Lions fans are probably sitting back saying, "Didn't we also just have a monster win on Monday Night Football? Looked really good against the Buccaneers, who, as you have said before, were probably wrongfully put at the top of most power rankings coming into that game." It's like, oh yeah, okay, we got to remember here. Detroit is also playing some of the best football in the league right now, maybe even the best. So, you can look at the NFC right now, and the two best teams are probably coming out of the North, which is it's just a great division. Unfortunately, the Vikings and Bears definitely have a little gap between them and Lions and Packers, but yeah, that Thanksgiving game looms, and Well, who's Detroit got coming up? They have us, I know, which is
they have us. Then they go to Washington. Then they go to Philly. Then they host the Giants, and then finally they host the Packers on Thanksgiving.
I tried to type in Lions schedule, and I typed in Loon schedule. I had no idea the MLS soccer team in Minnesota are the Minnesota Loons. Although, actually, from that Justin Jefferson video where he was dressed up as the photographer. I guess he was walking around saying the state bird in Minnesota is the common loon. So this actually makes sense. That's kind of weird how it all ties together. Detroit's schedule is pretty tough. But we've said this a handful of times now. When you're the hunter, you have a different perspective of a tough schedule, which Detroit is the hunter. So hosting the Vikings at the Commanders at Philly, you're probably hoping for at least 2-1 there. I love in the NFC now that you're getting all these top tier contenders playing each other over the next few weeks. But Philly, Green Bay.
It is worth noting, I don't think you can call the Commanders a top tier contender anymore.
No, I'm talking the Eagles, Packers, and Lions. It's like we're going to learn a lot about the 1 seed race over the next month of football. And it's going to be, that'll be vital. Because if we get into December, if we get into January football, right, Ziggy, and the Packers are going to Philly or the Eagles are going to Green Bay, that'll probably determine how at least I'm picking those games. Like the home field advantage is going to be massive for me. And all these teams have great home field advantages.
Yeah, we saw it last year. Obviously, the home field advantage doesn't matter 100%. We saw the Lions doesn't automatically mean it means win.
Yeah.
But like, I'll tell you what, if I'm the Detroit Lions and someone asks me, would you rather host a playoff game or would you rather go to Philly? Would you rather have the game at Lambeau in January or would you rather go to Philadelphia? Like the answer is obvious, right? You always want that game at home. And we saw last night the Packers can take over any stadium. They can force the Steelers to silent count at home in the biggest game of the year, which is unreal.
The Lions travel really well too. I've been really impressed. Ever since Detroit has had this resurgence, I've been really impressed with the way they travel to games. They go to Lambeau. In Lambeau Field, you see a lot of Honolulu blue, and it seems every single week when they're on the road, you get a great Lions contingent. We have a couple friends, Tom Monroe, Alex. I know Alex has been out for a couple games. They go and they support their team really well. So that matters. I really do think that matters. That motivates the guys. I'm looking at some futures right now. We have our top 10 in MVP voting at the moment. Mahomes, Allen, Drake May is 3 now. And we'll talk about him a little later. He's just been unbelievable. Baker's 4, which Baker, I'm guessing, is going to start to slide. We'll talk about that more as well. Stafford 5, Goff at 6. Then we have 7, 8, Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, the Colts guys. Jordan Love comes in at 9, and Jalen Hurts at 10. So maybe a little bit of value there on Jordan Love at plus 2,200, who at 9th in the MVP odds. If this Packer team, if they beat the Eagles and they go on, 3 or 4 game win streak, which we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. That's been the stories of the Packers this year, is looking ahead and then all of a sudden kind of getting smacked in the face and be like, oh, we gotta, we just need to win the game in front of us. But if you win 3 or 4 in a row, including an Eagles game, Jordan Love at plus 2,200, it's going to go up a lot. And
yeah, it's not where he's going to end.
Yeah, that's where there might be some value there right now. We didn't talk too much about the Steelers, actually. And Aaron Rodgers, obviously an emotional game for him, playing against his former team. They dropped their second in a row and fall to 4-3. It was the same way that the Bears just had a brutal loss. The Steelers' past 2 weeks have just been really tough for Jack and other Steelers fans, because at 4-1, with the way Baltimore struggled and Lamar being hurt, you felt like this was finally the year that you can get out of this just miserable state of making the wild card on the road, getting crushed. And here we are, 10 days later, and you're 4-3. Baltimore's at 2-5. Lamar Jackson's coming back. They unexpectedly beat the Bears. And
now the Ravens are at minus odds to win the division.
Minus odds. Yes, they're minus 125 to win the division. And the Steelers fans, if you're a smart Steelers fan, you see the writing on the wall. You can see it coming. And it's disappointing, but this defense, it's not a Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And the offense, it's the same problem we expected, right? DK Metcalf can make some plays, but no one else is really that threatening. It's not a well-constructed team. It's an older defense, certainly. And I think we're headed towards this same 9-8, 8-9, maybe 10-7 if they get lucky Steeler team.
Yeah, well, so I'll say a couple things. One is, if you're a Packers fan, let me know in the comments if you miss having Aaron Rodgers yell at his receivers every time they make a mistake.
Oh boy.
Like, I have to imagine if you're DK Metcalf, you screwed up when Carrington Valentine beats you on a jump ball. Like, having Aaron Rodgers yell about it afterwards, I'm sure, is not making you feel very confident you're going to go out and make plays. But with respect to the Steelers team, you look at their schedule. Indianapolis is coming to town next week. Indianapolis might be the hottest team in football right now. I don't think they're the best, but they've played very, very good. We'll hit them later. Then you go to the Chargers. You get some relief hosting the Bengals and going to Chicago. And then left on your schedule are the Bills, 2 games against the Ravens and the Lions. The Steelers, honestly, there's a risk they miss the playoffs from this spot if they can't get it together and play good games against good teams.
Let me look at the standings right now. I haven't pulled up the official playoff standings. So right now, in the AFC, the Colts are the 1 seed, New England's 2, Denver 3, Pittsburgh 4. So nothing's changed there. Bills are 5, Chargers 6, Jacksonville is 7. How are the Jags somehow with the 7 seed, and the Chiefs are the first team on the outside looking in, along with the Ravens, who are down there as the 12 seed. I don't think, and Houston's at 3-4 now, and Houston's playing well, but it might be a little too late for them to catch Indianapolis. I mean, we still have half the season left, but 3 games back is pretty far there. No, I like, if you had to pick the AFC North winner right now, who are you taking?
How many weeks have when the Ravens were 1-5 and Lamar was out, I said it was the Ravens. I'm not changing.
Yeah, and I think right now any Ravens fan is kind of sitting back in their chair smiling, going, okay. You know, the Bengals yesterday, the Bengals have a monster lead over the Jets. Flacco's moving up and down the field. I picked him up as a fantasy replacement. And I put in the Sherman doc for his show. Do we need to start seriously talking about Cincinnati as an AFC North, not an AFC, an AFC North contender with Flacco under center? And almost immediately following me putting that question in, the Jets scored 23 points in the 4th quarter and come back and stun Cincinnati. Like, okay, you know, I guess when the Bengals have a little life, the Cincinnati defense needs to remind everybody of just how bad they are, letting the Jets of all teams who have not been able to move the ball on anybody since Pittsburgh in week 1. Then that should tell you something about the Steelers. That this AFC North right now is really, really bad. Like, it's not a good division. And Baltimore seems to be in the driver's seat amazingly at 2-5.
Yeah, first of all, shout out to head nerd Aaron Glenn for going for 2 down 8. This is what you should be doing according to numbers. And you saw how it paid off in this game, right? Once they got that touchdown, you just kick that extra point. You're good to go. You win the game. You're not like in a last second, I need to go for two moment or worried about tying or whatever. This is a disastrous collapse for Cincinnati. They were roughly 99% to win pre-play with the Jets 4-1 at their own 49 with not a lot of time left to go in the game. I don't understand how, if you're Cincinnati, I know you said it in our pre-show conversation, like Justin Fields looked great. And I get that Justin Fields played some good football, but we know who Justin Fields is. Over the past however many years he's been mediocre. This guy is not a good quarterback. If he looks good against you, we knew it week 1 when he looked good against the Steelers. We saw it again when he looked good against the Bengals. That's a you problem. That's not Justin Fields suddenly remembering how to throw to his second read.
Justin Fields has always had these sorts of performances pop up, though. Like even when he was in Chicago, like there's that legendary Monday night game against the Commanders that he had. Every now and then, he's good for just a dazzling performance. And did you see his press conference after the game at all?
Oh, yeah.
I thought those comments...
He was crying in his closet.
Dude, I thought those comments were...
Woody Johnson was such a jerk to him.
Yeah, for anyone who missed it, Fields was saying, he was like on the floor in his closet crying during the week leading up to the game, talking to a friend and getting supportive texts from his mom and his sister. And if you haven't seen it, it's a really great clip. He's very vulnerable. Dude, sometimes it just reminds
maybe Garrett Wilson was the problem of this offense because Garrett Wilson misses the game and suddenly the Jets put up 23 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I was really happy for Fields. He seems like a really good guy. And everywhere he's gone as well, never really making problems in the locker room, right? Like last year could have been a big issue
for Russell Wilson when he was up 4-2.
Yeah, and you really didn't hear a word from him. He's been a great teammate. And it just reminds me, Ziggy, sometimes like we're talking about these games and we're talking about dudes, and I think we do a really good job, but then you go and you turn on the TV and people are just ripping into these guys who a lot of times are not, they're not even older than we are. They're a lot younger than we are.
Yeah, Justin Fields is 25 years old.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, I get that these guys make a lot of money, but there's a personal side to this thing too, and I don't know. That's why I've always been really happy that we don't rip on people. Like we might talk some trash like anyone does before a game, but it's never coming out here and being like, this guy sucks. like this guy sucks and should never be on the field.
There might be one person on our show.
Well, Jack might say
but
that,
he doesn't mean it. Yeah. I'll say this.
Brees Hall,
it's funny how close these things are. If Tyrod Taylor wasn't hurt for this game, he probably would have started over Justin Fields, right? Weird things like this can change the trajectory of a player's whole season. You can't bench Justin Fields after this game, right?
No, you have to play him again. I mean, at 1-7, the Jets' path to being relevant again starts with finding the quarterback. It's not going to be Justin Fields in all likelihood, but it's not going to be Tyrod Taylor. And this is probably, Jets fans, if anyone's hearing this, like, stop.
It's not news to you.
Yeah, they're like, stop. We're not gonna. It's Justin Fields is not our guy. I would ride it out with Fields, and if he somehow figures it out, which he's only 25 years old again, yeah, fine. It's very, very unlikely to work, but I would roll it out. I would finish the season out with Fields, and unless he just plays horrendously, then you could throw Tyrod in. But hey, Brees Hall, by the way, too, unbelievable game. 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw for the game winner. Like Brees Hall throwing for the game winning. Yeah.
He's looked very good. I'll say this too. The Jets have some winnable games coming up. They host the Browns next week. That is a game you can win. They still have a game left against the Dolphins, against the Saints, against the Jaguars. The Jets' thing to do in this situation is to win enough games that you can't take one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft.
Yes.
That might actually happen.
Yeah, that's how they usually do things around there. I did not see the Jets being the focal point of our number 2 topic, but maybe that's on us for the lack of a pure rundown saying, yeah, let's just talk. Let's just talk. But this is where the conversation has guided us. Maybe Kansas City would go after Brees Hall. I don't think they're going to make a move at running back, but he would be I'm trying to think who could go after Brees and have it make sense among the contenders right now.
This could be the last game for some other big Jets players. Teams are making real calls on Quinnen Williams. If there is a big trade deadline piece this year, He's the guy. I know he's going to ask. Jets are going to ask for a huge price, but the reporting has not been that the Jets aren't willing to listen. The reporting has been the Jets want a bunch of picks.
I think the Chiefs make the most sense for Brees here too. Just from looking through, I'm not sure who else. Like Green Bay's not, the Eagles aren't, Tampa's not, Seattle.
The Chargers could trade for him.
The Chargers could. That was one that popped up.
Injuries. The Texans could trade for him.
The Texans could. Buffalo won't. Pittsburgh wouldn't, I don't think. Denver unlikely. Yeah, maybe you're looking at the Chargers.
One other thing, if the Bears are looking to add something on their offense, it's not impossible he gets traded to Chicago either. I know I love DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, well, I think Kyle Monunga has been awesome. Like, maybe not awesome, but he's been pretty good.
Brees Hall is a different level of player.
Yeah, he is.
For those guys. He's been on the Jets, so people don't talk about him. He's a different level of player.
Well, why don't we move over to the Bears game here? We talked about the losers of yesterday, and not just because we have a lot of Packer listeners, not just because we're Vikings fans. If we're actually just being objective with this, Chicago had a really tough loss yesterday. Heading into that game at 4-2, with the news, it was late breaking news that Lamar Jackson would be out. I think it was Friday or Saturday. But the whole week he was trending towards playing. You have to lean back and go, all right, like this should be a win. Because they've really struggled without him. Obviously, we know, he's an MVP player. We're going to get to 5-2 here. And after we get to 5-2, we have the Bengals, who just blew it to the Jets. And we have the Giants and the Vikings and the Steelers. Like, this is a potential. We can keep this winning streak going. Like let's start thinking about maybe not just getting to the playoffs, maybe not even just the North. Could we threaten the 1 seed? And if you're 7-8-2, it's the Bears, and we'll find a way to mess it up. But it becomes a conversation, right? You're a win away against one of the big teams from really entering that fold. Probably wishful thinking, and it is, because you get humbled quite quickly by this Baltimore team. But I said it last night on the broadcast. To start the game with 2 combined drives that go for 24 total plays and eat up 13 minutes on the clock, and you only walk away with 6 points. We know the red zone has been a problem in certain games this year for Chicago. Just another one of those spots where you have an opportunity to really assert yourself early in that game, and you can't do it. Baltimore gets the ball back, goes right down the field, and all of that first quarter success immediately vanishes when they get in the end zone at 7-0 after a quarter. They kind of battle back and forth throughout the game. The Chicago offense was sputtering. They had a big missed kick before halftime. But here they are at down 13-6, early fourth quarter. Caleb has the ball backed up on his own goal line, and he throws a back-breaking interception to Nate Wiggins that leads to a Charlie Kohler touchdown for Baltimore, makes it a double-digit game, and that was pretty much it. And so Caleb had his moment, couldn't deliver. You dropped to 4-3. It's just a really, really bad loss for Chicago yesterday.
There's no doubt. And it's unfortunate that I think that moment looms large over the whole game, because other than that play, this was not a terrible Caleb Williams game. He led a pretty efficient passing offense. There were a few big throws. He had that huge throw to DJ Moore. He had a nice deep throw to Rome Odunze. Like, they were able, as you said, to move the ball. But that interception was just terrible. They missed a 58-yard field goal at the half, which these days is makeable. They had 5 more penalties than the Ravens. Like, things, in order to win this game for Chicago, I know the final score makes it look like this was a blowout. Obviously, the Ravens were up 2-score, but this was a very close game well into the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. As you said, the Bears were down 3 when Caleb Williams threw that interception. You're down 13-16. You're at your own 4. There's 9 minutes left. If you get a touchdown on that drive, you get a long, slow, methodical drive. You can give the ball back 3 minutes left, up 4 points.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately, that interception just doomed it. And I'm not saying Caleb Williams played great. Obviously, all of the things I'm mentioning are problems with the team. But I think that just makes the loss all the more worse.
Well, you're right, though, in that when you look over their drive chart, it's field goal, 3 and out. And then they have the missed field goal on the 58-yarder. Third quarter starts, they go 3 and out, and then they score a touchdown. Those are all the plays leading up to the interception. So you're allowed to have a 3-and-out. You're allowed to have a drive that doesn't produce points. And Caleb had them 4 of 6 drives, right? Either with a touchdown or the opportunity for a field goal. And it's, but you still found yourself losing the game because he couldn't punch in the end zone enough times. So yeah, he didn't play horrendous up until, the interception was just backbreaking. I think there's a lot of positives you can take away from Chicago in that DeAndre Swift has just been awesome the past few weeks. I know he didn't have maybe the statistics that he has quite had, but just watching him play, he's got a lot of juice this season. And Odunze has completely taken over as that number 1 receiver. He had 114 yards. When you're watching that game, he's all over the place. There are positives to take away for Chicago, but they just got gashed too many times on big plays. Where Baltimore, I didn't think Baltimore was like moving up and down at will, but Keaton Mitchell had a big run. Tyler Huntley had a really big scramble. They had the deep ball. Like, listen to the long plays for these guys. You had a 29-yard Huntley scramble. You had a 25-yard Keaton Mitchell run, 36-yard Bateman pass, 24-yard Mark Andrews. Flowers had a big 20-yard catch early. Like, they were just getting gashed a couple times, which set Baltimore up enough to kick a lot of field goals early, and they just couldn't. They couldn't put in the end zone and capitalize enough. So just a bad loss for Chicago. Falls to 4-3 now, and they're the 8th seed in the NFC if the season ended today. It's just Bengal. Is it fair to say the Bears at the Bengals almost has a losers out feel to it? And obviously they're not out, but Chicago loses at Cincy and drops to 4-4.
Honestly, I think Cincy's out of it regardless. I think only Chicago really has something to play for in this game.
Yeah, Cincy will actually be just objectively out in my mind. They're pretty much done when you have a defense playing like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you look at who these teams are, neither of them I think are super likely to make the playoffs. If you look at the Vegas odds, they're likely to agree. The Bears the reason this loss is so dispiriting is not because it rules the Bears out of the playoffs. Look, at the end, if you're a Bears fan, you know that the playoffs was an aspiration rather than something that was for sure going to happen, and you've got plenty of hard games left.
Yeah.
What sucked was that after so much momentum and so many good vibes, you come out looking totally flat and Caleb Williams makes a game-breaking mistake. You just want to see him play consistently good football for a whole game. And it looked like we were trending that way. But the Saints game really was not a whole lot better than this. But it didn't go that way.
No, Rattler just turned the football over a gazillion times. The defense played better in that game. But if you're for Chicago, I bet there's a part of you that can't help from thinking, hey, last year we were 4-2. And then we had a bad loss. Obviously, the Washington loss was a lot worse than the Baltimore one, but the season fell apart pretty quickly. So this Bengal game, even if you don't think you're going to get to the playoffs, even if you don't think you're a true contender, the Bears' goal this year is to take to level up, and they have done that throughout the past 4 weeks. But now they need to respond, and since he's going to be tough, since he can move the ball, they really can. But they have to win that game. If they lose that one, you start looking at this team going, okay, how are we really that different? You have to be able to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. And that's been a big difference in Chicago from this year versus how they finished last season. But the Bengals and Giants are 2 games you should win if you want to level up. The next game we're going to talk about here. Can we talk a little bit about the 49ers Texans game?
Sure, Paul.
I couldn't believe that the Texans. It's just such a weird NFL season, and I know we have a Texan following, so I'm apologizing that we don't cover them as much as we used to, but we're going to right now. They absolutely dominated the 49ers yesterday, and the score was only an 11-point game, but Sherm's big show or big team is San Francisco, so I'm watching that one a little closer. The first half rolls around, Ziggy. And do you know what the time of possession was at halftime?
I'm guessing it was 2010.
It was 24-30 to 5-30. The Texans were leading. And at one point, I think he got up to 30-6, which you never see that. You never see it.
But you know how many plays the 49ers ran that game total on offense?
How many?
44.
Compared
the Texans
to
ran 75.
Yes. Yeah. And when you make the comparison of stats on the day, yards was 475 to 223. First downs 23 to 12. Possession didn't get that much better. 41-22 to 18-38. It was just a day where Houston came out and looked awesome. And CJ Stroud was 30 for 39 for 318 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had an interception right before halftime. Not a great decision. Actually, one that Diamador Lenore should have got. Like, the Texans dominated the whole first half. And going into halftime, they're up 16-0. A minute left, they're kicking off. And the announcers are saying, hey, just finish strong here. And you're going to go into halftime in complete control. And Brian Robinson Jr. returns it to the 50-yard line. There's a face mask. And all of a sudden, the 49ers have the ball on the 35. A couple plays later, George Kittle's in the end zone. They did it in like 35 seconds. And the Texans got the ball back now up 16-7. Stroud throws a pick. And this, any San Francisco fan who's listening isn't going to know what I'm saying here. Lenore caught it with like 4 seconds left and could have slid down at the 40-35 or 35-yard line of San Francisco with like 2 seconds left, kicked the field goal, made 16-10. Instead, he runs out the clock trying to make a play. And it's those little things that like they mattered looking back on the game. Which, San Fran just wasn't thinking. He wasn't aware in the moment. And that wound up costing the 49ers 3 points. But other than that little stretch, the Texans just looked much better today. And it was important for them to do that after the way they looked on Monday Night Football against Seattle. Because that was one of the most embarrassing primetime performances you can see. Forcing 4 turnovers and still getting blown out. My opinion doesn't change too much on them moving forward, just on one game. But we do know that their defense is legit. And if Stroud can find some semblance of the player he was, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, then Texans fans can feel like we're right back in the race for a wild card.
I'll say a couple things. One is, as this show's resident Brock Purdy truther, I'm happy to see that, in fact, this offense does not run itself of literally any quarterback, and Mac Jones can't just lead them to a win. I know Texans fans are very high on this game, and you beat the 49ers. The offense looked better than it had before. But really, this was a game where the 49ers offense was a huge problem. The Texans, as you mentioned, they scored on their first 4 drives. There were 3 field goals there. If the 49ers came out firing on offense, or at least did a little bit better than 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out to start the game, this could have been much closer. And as you say, they got that George Kittle touchdown near the end of the first half. And after that, again, the game was close going into the fourth half. I know it was a 2-score game, but the 49ers, not only did they have a 3 and out to open the fourth quarter, but they also had a long drive ended by just a brutal Mac Jones interception in the red zone, right? They gained 70 yards and 8 plays on that drive. The 49ers could have won this game. So credit to the Houston defense. There's no doubt about it. But I think it's too early to say the Texans offense is fixed because of
No. Yeah, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's a positive take. That's the positive takeaway for Houston is we finally showed up on offense. I don't think either of these teams...
There have been 4 Iowa State receivers drafted since 1985. 3 of them started for the Houston Texans yesterday. Maybe that was the solution.
Yeah, I know. Every time there's a catcher, like, wait a second. And they're like, from Iowa State. Like, that's not the same guy.
But look, I mean, you face the Denver Broncos next week. Again, it's at home. And then they face the Jaguars at home. So you get a nice stretch
Houston.
of home
This is Houston?
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But the offense playing the Broncos, we've seen this Broncos defense can be suffocating. They just shut down Dak Prescott. The offense needs to look better than they did this week if they want to beat the Broncos and get back in playoff contention.
See, my expectation, though, is that Denver is just going to completely shut them down. And they might also shut down Denver, but I think it's more likely that the Texans put up 6 points and Denver wins, 17-9 or something. Then we see Houston, revitalized offensively. I actually don't think either of these teams, the Texans or the 49ers, have enough firepower to be taken seriously on offense. As far as being
Purdy is out for the 49ers.
Yeah,
still.
as far as
he
being
comes back soon.
As far as being a true contender in that conference, the 49ers can have for a game, they can be explosive because Shanahan's amazing. But you saw it today. If you shut down Christian McCaffrey, which is hard to do, it's much easier said than done. But 8 carries for 25 yards, 3 receptions, 43 yards. He's been great this year. Outside of McCaffrey, there's not a lot. There was just not a lot of skill position talent in this game. I mean, we could read through the guys who are making plays, and this isn't a shot on any of these guys. And just none of them are real number one receivers, or even 2 sometimes. Juwan Jennings, Kendrick Bourne, Kittle, McCaffrey, obviously we know are good. The Texan side, Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Noel, Woody Marks, Braxton Berrios, Jaden Higgins. I mean, it's just you need more. To me, at least, if you're going to go up against the juggernauts of your conference. So hey, look, big win for the Texans. I think San Francisco, Shanahan's done an amazing job this season, and they're going to hang around. I mean, I'm just looking at their schedule. They have the Giants, Rams, Cardinals, Panthers, Browns, Titans. They should win most of those games. And
also you have to keep in mind they're 3-0 in the division. If they keep beating their divisional teams, they beat the Seahawks on the road and the Rams on the road, they could be hosting a playoff game just off the basis of divisional tiebreakers because they've been very strong in the NFC West.
All right, let's move on to our next game here. Ziggy, did anything jump out to you? Any of these games jump out? We're going to try and hit all of them, but what do you want to go with?
Well, we just said that I'm the show's resident Brock Purdy truther. A player I've been on since before he was even drafted is Drake May. And I'm feeling pretty good after he just carved up one of the best defenses in football. I know Myles Garrett got 5 sacks on it, which, by the way, that's just an unreal number for one player to have 5 sacks in a game. And yet still, Drake May and the Patriots offense were incredibly efficient and dominated the Browns.
I do want
my question, right? Like the Bills, they had a rough first half against Carolina. I remember texting you saying something's wrong in Buffalo, and then immediately, the Bills just turn it on and blow them out. But up to this point in the season, I think you have to say Drake May has played about as well as Josh Allen. Do you think he's playing well enough to win the AFC East?
The answer is unequivocally yes, which is a lot of Patriots fans were optimistic coming into the season because of the schedule that they had. But not only are they winning, they're dominating games right now. I want to make sure I got this right when I was talking MVP award. Yeah, no, it's not. Drake May's not 4th in MVP voting right now or in odds. He's 3rd, and he's 3rd by a wide margin. Baker Mayfield's plus 1,100 at 4 overall. The jump up to Drake May is plus 475 now. Josh Allen plus 350, Mahomes plus 125. He is playing that well too. This is not a product of their record being 6-2, as much as people may lead you to believe that, because you're going to hear with the Patriots schedule, and it truly is one of the lightest schedules that you'll ever see. But they're winning these games 32-13 against the Browns, 31-13 against the Titans. The 25-19 over New Orleans was a game that they were really in pretty firm control of. 42-13 over the Panthers. We said it, and people were making fun of Jack because he was like, "Oh, if the Patriots lost the 2 games that they won, they'd be if they won the 2 games that they lost, they'd be undefeated." And we're like, "Yeah, but they should have beat the Steelers. And if they play the Raiders today, they're probably winning that game by 20 plus points." And Drake May has been unbelievable in all of them. And Stephon Diggs has been really good. Kayshon Boutte has been awesome, right? They're getting involved with guys who, coming into the year, either had big question marks around them or you just really didn't believe in too much. Hunter Henry's been really good. Travion Henderson kind of got going yesterday. I think New England and Mike, you got to give a lot of credit to Mike Vrabel too. He's come in there and they were in a really bad spot, and he's come in and the culture feels different. Drake May is elevated. They are, I don't know if I'm ready to call them a Super Bowl contender yet, because in the playoffs, things change and you get the best versions of these superstars. But they're absolutely in contention for not just the AFC East, but the playoffs could be going through Foxborough.
Yeah, I think when you start talking about Super Bowl contender, this is when I'm inclined to say, let's pump the brakes a little bit. They play the good teams at the end of the season. But With respect to the Patriots, they made a lot, as you said, they made a lot of moves both in free agency and in relying on guys where they said, we're going to project forward and hope things get better. And it's basically all worked out, not just on offense. I know you hit Kayshon Boutte. Travion Henderson looked good, obviously. Demario Douglas has been good. Austin Hooper is having a renaissance. So is Hunter Henry. But even like Robert Spillane had a great interception on defense. This is a guy who in Pittsburgh was more of a good player than a great player. He's been excellent for them. Milton Williams, a signing I really criticized. He's played very solid football for them this year. Christian Barmore is back. He's playing really good football. I know that like he got benched and there was some disciplinary stuff, but when he's playing and when he's well, I think he's a very, very good player. The Patriots have a lot of talent on this team all of a sudden. And when you talk about expectations at this point, they should win a playoff game. That should be the expectation in New England, and the division is very much in play. That win in Buffalo, October 5th, suddenly looks like it could be a game that has huge impact on the division. At the time we said, yeah, the Patriots look okay, but the Bills are still 4-1. They're still the better team. We're not worried. The Patriots are a legitimate threat to win the division. If they do, if you're hosting a playoff game in the wild card round against the 5 or the 6 seed in the AFC, say it's the Steelers, I'm taking them to win the revenge matchup, aren't you?
Yes, I would take them. And if in Foxborough, yeah, I would take them. They're getting better. I mean, again, that was the week 3 Patriots, and the week 8 Patriots are a lot more legit. And whenever you're watching May in these highlights, it's like, he's scrambling well. He's putting the ball all over the field. I mean, he's been almost perfect, truly, watching these games. Their next 5 are Atlanta, at Tampa, host the Jets, at the Bengals, host the Giants. It's been a wacky year. We know anyone can beat anyone. But you're thinking that can be 4-1. like that's like a reasonable 4-1, which would put you at 10-3 on the season. And we were talking about records that, it gets real. And I said, when you get to 10-2, 10-3, it's not just a hot start. You start thinking about the 1 seeds and going on these big runs. And that leads perfectly in to them hosting Buffalo and going to Baltimore, where we expect Lamar to be back. We expect the Ravens to rally off a few in a row. I know this is a lot of forward thinking here on New England, but I believe
they're 6-2, and their 2 losses have been games they shouldn't have lost. It's fair to look forward at this point.
I believe the likely scenario is this is a 10-3 Patriots team, even if they're 9-4, and they're going to have those 2 games in mid to late December against Buffalo and Baltimore.
And then you finish by playing the Jets on the road and hosting the Dolphins.
Yeah, but like if you can get to those 2 games and have it all be there for you to take, again, you get Buffalo at home. That'll be the legitimizing factor. If they win those 2 games, like if they even win one of them, everyone's going to believe, and that's where it will swing from. Okay, they're going for the 1 seed. They're going for home playoff game, win the division, to okay, like this. Let's see what this team can really do. Because now we're talking about teams winning 14 games. It's like, 13, 14 games. And that's just, I mean, it's there for them. And next week, Patriots fans are going to be all over the TV, not watching necessarily Falcons-Patriots, but Chiefs-Bills on Sunday Night Football. And you're going to be cheering like crazy. It might feel weird, but Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City going to Buffalo and win that game, and you get another game up in the loss column. Like this race for the AFC East is going to be a lot of fun because both these teams are really good, and this is the first time Buffalo has really been challenged in like 3 or 4, like 4 or 5 years, like since Brady.
This is the first time since 2023 they haven't had outright lead in the division.
Yeah, how much have they won? I wonder if there's a way for me to see AFC East standings by season. I wonder if I can see that. Let's see. NFL. Okay, here we go. NFL standings. So 2024, the Bills won. They were 13-4. The closest team was the Dolphins at 8-9. I guess they had that one year where in 2022 or 2023, where they were 11-6. Miami was 11-6, but they won the division.
That was 2023.
Yeah, they won by 4 games in 2022. Just 1 game over New England in 2021. 3 games in 2020. I mean, yeah, and then Brady was there in 2019. So it's been a while now that Buffalo's been in control here, and usually they're winning by several games. This is probably the most likely year, other than the Dolphins' collapse, for someone to upend them. And Buffalo, how good was James Cook yesterday? 214 yards. At one point, I think he had 214 yards in the third quarter. Did they take him out?
They just started playing Ray Davis once the game was over.
I was actually, 216. 19 carries for 216, 2 touchdowns. He had a 64-yard touchdown run. I thought for a moment, I got a little nervous that Peterson's 296-yard record for a game was in trouble. And you want to keep these guys healthy. That's the most important thing for Buffalo. There's nothing else on the Bills' mind than winning the Super Bowl, which is kind of funny because they haven't even gotten there yet. But there's nothing else on Buffalo's mind than getting to and winning the Super Bowl, which means when you're up by 30 points, 40 points going into the fourth quarter against the Carolina Panthers, you're going to rest James Cook because he, outside of him, Shakir had a big play yesterday, but there's not really many other weapons, and that's what Jack was talking about with Buffalo. So I don't blame him for taking him out. But for a moment there, I was thinking we might have a shot at the first 300-yard game in NFL history.
No, and he's been incredibly productive. There's only 2 players in the NFL with 4 games of 100 rushing yards or more. It's James Cook and Jonathan Taylor. And I know Jonathan Taylor deserves all the attention and credit he's getting. I'm not denying that. But I think because people expected the Colts to be bad and expected the Bills to be good, Taylor's getting 100% of the attention. And James Cook, having probably the second or third best season for a running back in the NFL right now, is getting totally overlooked.
Yeah, no one's mentioned it at all. The past couple of weeks, he's just been okay. He had 49-87 against New England and Atlanta. But before that, 3 straight games over 100 yards. And I remember he was leading fantasy running back or number 2 for a while. And people, when they found that out, were going, really? James Cook? But he's great. And him and Allen are the 1-2 punch that Buffalo relies on for basically everything. That maybe they're a team that could look to add a receiver at the deadline. I'm not sure who they'd make a move for, but they need a little help on the outside. The guys just don't get much separation. There's not much of an impact there. And it's just the same story of Josh kind of having to play Superman in the passing attack. But they did a great job today making Andy Dalton make a lot of mistakes. The Panthers have been stingy at home this year. The line didn't move we were talking about when Dalton came in for Bryce Young. Maybe it should have because Andy had some crucial turnovers. But a huge loss for Buffalo is Ed Oliver left. It was biceps. It was a bicep injury.
Yeah. We don't know exactly what the injury was, but I'll tell you, if they're saying biceps and his arm is in a sling, something is torn or severely strained. He's going to be out, I think, probably until the playoffs.
Yeah, and he had come back. He'd been 3 games this year, had a sack in each game, or he had 3 sacks on the year and playing only 3 games. That's a big loss for Buffalo, who's already had some troubles on the defensive side of the ball this season. So just keep an eye on that one. But the Bills, they seem to get things back on track after for Buffalo, really bad 2 weeks. They used the bye to get back to their winning ways. The Eagles now, speaking about getting back to winning ways, 38-20, they beat the Giants. Obviously, one of the major stories from this was Cam Scadaboo's horrible dislocated ankle. It felt so bad. You see him go down on the ground, and every time you have these injuries where all of a sudden you see a body part moving, facing the wrong direction, it just kind of breaks your heart. You're like, these poor guys are in so much shock. They're almost not like Tyreek Hill, right? It was in so much shock. I have to imagine that he's laughing and the pain levels must be excruciating. But you saw Jackson Dart's reaction. This Giants team, which has been a lot of fun. I mean, I know they're 2-6, but the Giants have been a ton of fun for football over the past few weeks. And Scadaboo was just one of the faces of the league for a couple of weeks here. And he goes down now. We know Malik Neighbors is out. The Giants are probably going to hobble to the finish line, but coming into next season, I do think that they're in a good position to take a jump forward because Dart's been awesome and they're getting back a couple really big weapons. Hopefully those guys will be good to go. But sad to see Cam Scadaboo go out like that, and hopefully he makes a full recovery. As far as the Eagles go, though, Jalen Hurts.
I'll tell you as far as the Eagles go.
Please.
They're back. I was down on the Eagles offense when things weren't going good, so I have to sit here and be high on them when things are. This is 2 weeks in a row now where the offense looked really, really good. Last week, it was all in the air. Jalen Hurts dominated passing the ball. This week, Saquon was back. I know Jalen Hurts threw for 4 touchdowns, so it's weird he's not the focal point. But if you watch this game, you know this was the Saquon Barkley game. Excellent receiving, caught a touchdown, excellent on the ground, 14 carries for 150 yards. Even Tanks Bigsby ripped off some huge runs for the Eagles. This was absolute domination from the offense. And they go on bye this week. Their next week is going to Green Bay. If I were a Packers fan, I would have hoped that was drawing the Eagles that were dysfunctional against the Giants and the Broncos and the Rams and even the Cowboys. It feels like the Eagles are finally back to 2024, and this offense is back to being one of the best in football.
Yeah.
Setting aside the weird tush-push officiating.
Yeah, that was. We don't have to get into it too much, but the tush-push, if anyone hasn't seen it, Jalen Hurts, they ran a tush-push, and how many times have we seen the initial push kind of get stalled? Refs let it keep going. Hurts keeps driving. He's squatting like 650 pounds or something. So is Saquon. Everyone on that Eagles team is a freak athlete, and you see the push come in and he winds up picking it up by like sometimes even 2-3 yards. This time push gets stopped a bit. The surge starts happening, and I would even say during the surge. It's like, it wasn't like the guys were just sitting around. Hurts is still moving forward, which they give him those yards.
Lunging the ball forward.
He's lunging the ball out with his hands, which if for anyone who doesn't know, in the end zone, the ball touches the goal line, it's a touchdown, plays over. It's not how it works everywhere else on the field. If you pull it out and then tuck it back in, and now I'm going to get pissed off because I'm thinking about the 2009 NFC Championship game. If the ball comes back, that's where the ball is placed. You reach it out, pull it back. That's how it works. He reaches out, play's not over, even though he has the first down, and Kayvon Thibodeau rips it out of his hands.
No, it rips it, headbutts it. It was hilarious.
And picks it up, and the Giants pick it up. That's Giants football. It just is. And it was early enough in the game, too, where it made they scored a touchdown on that drive, I believe.
Yep.
And, it's just the tush push. I want to keep it in because I do think the Eagles are so good at it that it's a fair advantage, right? Because other teams get stopped. But the problem is now if the officiating on this play is going to be this terrible, whether it's giving, whether it's when are you making the call for forward progress being stopped, or if it's this false start that we've seen several times this year now where the guards get a jump early because the refs can't see who's moving with all those bodies inside. Like, that's a problem. And it can't, again, the Eagles are so much better at everyone else that they shouldn't just be penalized because they have an unstoppable play. That's because Hurts is unbelievable at it, and their line is great at it, and Saquon's a freak, and AJ Brown's a freak, and they're stronger than you are. But if it's going to be something like this where officiating gets in the way consistently, you have to ban it. And it doesn't look good either. Like, we all can agree, it doesn't look good. So I think it's in a lot of trouble. I actually would be surprised if the tush push is in the league next year with the way it's been this season, because so many people hate it that every time you have something slightly go wrong, it's major news, and we're talking about.
And let's look, things go wrong on any kind of quarterback sneak too. Like, those are just. I know the tush push is hard to officiate, but so is every single quarterback sneak in the NFL. Right? Weird stuff happens. But at the end of the day, like, when you look at this Philadelphia Eagles team, my takeaway from the game was less about that.
Yeah, sorry. I know I said I'm not going to talk about it.
Fair enough. There have been times this season where they've needed that advantage just to move the ball down the field. This game, they did not.
No. And Hurts was amazing again. He was 15 for 20 for 4 touchdowns after another week of being, awesome against the Vikings. But I said it after the Viking game. Until Saquon Barkley can get back to being Saquon Barkley, it's not happening for Philly. Like they're a great team. They are loaded everywhere. But the edge for them was Saquon being dominant. It's the same way I said it for the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs being dominant. Running back matters. It really matters. You can replace all the average guys. You can replace even the above average guys. But when you have the superstar running back, it's probably just me as a Adrian Peterson guy growing up with the Vikings. All I knew was running backs.
I mean, the superstar is built different.
But they're built different. And you see it with Jonathan Taylor, who has 14 touchdowns right now. And he's an MVP candidate. It matters. And today you got superstar Saquon Barkley, which need to see it for a couple weeks. But if he can get back to that level, that's when you fear Philly. You don't fear them when Saquon's running for 60 yards. You shouldn't. But that version of them today, yeah, they're starting to kind of figure it out again. They're 6-2. It's been a disaster, but they're 6-2. And I think that's a testament to how much talent's on that team. One fun fact, Ziggy, I don't know if you saw this. Saquon, I don't know if he tied it or took sole second place of the most 60 plus yard rushing touchdowns in a career, but he got to 9. Do you know who number 1 is?
Ridiculous. Who is it?
Peterson with 15. That's the difference of these guys. When you have the ability to rip off a 60-yard touchdown on any given play, it changes the way you have to defend people. And that opens things up for Hurts. And it's just so fun. I love, it might have been 65 yards. I'm not sure what the number was, but essentially explosive touchdowns. All right, let's get ready to wrap this up here because we've been going on for a while. Let's do very quick hitters on the games we haven't touched on. Bucs 23-3 over the Saints.
I told you.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna let you tell why.
I know they won by 20 points, and that makes it look like this was an outstanding performance. The Bucs offense was not good this game. They had 1 touchdown from Sean Tucker. Baker Mayfield could not throw the ball. Emeka Egbuka has not looked like the guy who started the season. I get it. There have been injuries at receiver. There have been injuries at running back. Baker Mayfield is being asked to do a lot.
Well, Egbuka has also been hurt himself.
No, indeed. There have been injuries all over. I'm not saying that absolves them, but if games coming up, you host the Patriots, you go to Buffalo, you go to LA over the next 3, they need to figure it out very, very quickly because while I don't think there's a real threat to them in the NFC South, I don't think the Panthers or the Falcons are going to win it. They need to start winning games against good teams or they're very quickly going to be irrelevant.
They're going to be the 3 or 4 seed again. That's going to happen. And
which means they'll probably get to play either Detroit or Green Bay or else one of the NFC West teams.
Yeah. And they can beat any of them like Tampa can, but that starts trending very much toward what we've seen from Tampa the past 2 years, 3 years, whatever it's been. And in a weird way, they're like the more competitive Steelers of the NFC lately. It's like, Tampa's at home. They're playing a wild card team. Okay, at least they won one. They played Detroit in the divisional. That's not the best comparison in the world, but it sort of feels like they're in that can't really push the envelope of being in 1 seed contention. Now, right now they are, but you're right. They're 6-2. It's all there in front of them. It just hasn't looked as pretty. It hasn't felt as explosive as it has earlier in the year. And you hope Mike Evans gets back and he changes so much for this offense. But you're right. Egbuka hasn't been the threat that he was earlier in the year. And they won this game because the Saints turned the ball over a gazillion times. They benched Rattler. Tyler Shaw comes in, throws an interception on his first drive. It was a great performance from the Tampa defense. That's what you do against bad teams. But the offense feels like it's starting to... We'll see. We'll see when Bucky Irving gets back. We'll see when these guys start getting a little bit healthier. Baker is still obviously an MVP candidate based on the odds. So I'm not going to make any... I guess I did just say they're going to be the 3 and the 4 seed, and which I'd still stand by. I'm rooting for them to get back on track, but I don't expect them to be the 1 seed the way a lot of people did a couple weeks ago. The Broncos, 44-24 over the Cowboys. Great performance from the Denver defense. The Cowboy offense had been on fire. They held them to 10 points in the first half. Going into the fourth quarter, only 17 before they really blew this thing open. Dak moved the ball decently throughout the game, but had a couple really big interceptions. One of them, I believe, was in the red zone. And Bo Nix had a 4 touchdown day. I actually like Bo Nix. People have been getting on him over the past couple weeks, including us at times. But I've turned into a believer, I think.
Really?
No, I actually have. Like, after
what you said at the start of the season.
It's weird, Ziggy, because whenever I'm watching them play, like, yeah, they have some bad games. Bo is prone to some really bad games. He looked horrible against the Jets in London. But I think overall on the year, he's played pretty good football. Is that wrong?
I mean, I certainly agree.
But more people are coming out seemingly and saying, like, yeah, I saw some guys the other day saying, like, he's clearly not the guy. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't think he has Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes potential here, but I feel like he's been good.
It's hard for me. I know there's context, but it's hard for me to look at a guy over the past 2 games has thrown for 550 yards and 6 touchdowns and say that can't be the guy.
You know what it is? I'm sorry, I forgot this. It's not they're going into these, like, half their wins, they're going in the fourth quarter down 20 points, and then he turns it on. So I can see where over the course of 3 horrendous quarters, you lose faith in a guy. But in addition to, like, what JJ McCarthy did, right? JJ had the great fourth quarter against the Bears, but then he sucked against Atlanta. Bo Nix will have these great fourth quarters, but it's not like every other quarter he looks terrible. Today, he was great. Or yesterday, he was great. And he's had
let's be clear. They beat the Eagles in Philly this year, right? Yeah. Even though they've struggled against bad teams, they've also beaten good teams. Has anybody played the Colts even close to as well as the Broncos did, coming down to like 1 point in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. I don't think that Bo Nix is a top 5, a top 10 quarterback in football. I think, though, that he can have moments where he is very, very good. And that's enough given what the Denver defense can do, that the Broncos are a competitive team. I still think the Chiefs will win the division. That hasn't changed for me really most of the year. But Denver's a good team. And especially when you go there, it's a tough place to win. That's a big win for the Broncos. Cowboys, big loss, who could have moved to 4-3-1, finally gotten over 500. And they just had, tough game and a tough place to play. The Colts utterly dominate the worst team in football, the Tennessee Titans, 38-14. Jonathan Taylor, it's like every week with this guy. Sorry. Real quick, I did want to mention Saquon had a brief groin injury, which looked precautionary for anyone who noticed that, and we didn't discuss it. He probably could have come back in the game, my guess is, but they held him out because it was in check. But Jonathan Taylor, 12 carries, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns this year. Some people point out Adrian Peterson, who's now come up 3 times in the show today, had 13 total in his MVP season in 2012. He's just been excellent. Daniel Jones, 21 for 29, 272, 3 touchdowns. Ziggy, I'm going to steal your question. I'm going to ask it to you. Are the Colts the best team in the AFC?
No. I understand this is an unpopular take. The Colts are 7-1, and I'm not going to say they are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, wait, I'm going to get mad. I may get mad depending on what comes out of your mouth here. Who is the best team in the AFC?
Kansas City. I know that this is not a popular take. I know people want to hear the Colts are the best because they have the best record and they've played the best football up until this point. And I agree with both of those, actually. The Colts very easily could be 8-0 right now, though they also very easily could be 5-3 if the Broncos and Cardinals games go just a little bit different. On the other hand, as much as I want to believe that Daniel Jones is going to continue to be one of the best quarterbacks in football and continue to lead one of the most efficient offenses, as much as I believe in Jonathan Taylor to keep it going, as much as I think the Colts defense is actually good, I just don't have it in me to say that a quarterback who has been so bad for so long is going to lead the Colts to be the best team in the AFC. I said the same thing about the Vikings of Sam Darnold. I said he's very, very efficient, but at one point he is going to remind you why so many teams moved on from him. And unfortunately for us, Sam did. I'm not saying Sam Darnold had a bad year. He had a great year. He was one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, but I kept saying with the Vikings, wait until you find out about Sam Darnold. Eventually, that's going to happen with Daniel Jones, too. We saw it in 2022 for New York. He can put together a very good year, but Daniel Jones, I do not think, is going to continue to play as one of the 3 or 4 most efficient quarterbacks in football. I'm taking Mahomes over him. I'm sorry.
Okay, a couple things. One, I am not going to allow you to do what you did with Jahmyr Gibbs to me with the Chiefs, where I was the Jahmyr Gibbs guy. You know, I'm the running back guy. I love running backs. And I just got, beat to the ground on this show, mostly from Jack, about how running backs don't matter. And I was just pounding the table of how good Jahmyr Gibbs was, and he was going to transform the Lions offense. Saquon was an important acquisition, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden this offseason, you're like, Jahmyr Gibbs, number 1 in fantasy, number 1 running back in the league. And I was like, whoa, what? And everyone's like, Ziggy's on Gibbs. I was like, okay, this is out of control. The Chiefs now, I'm just going to make it very clear to everybody listening, and everyone knows this. On this show, I know I produced Nick Wright, and Nick doesn't actually have any impact on me. I've thought this before I was even producing Nick. I wasn't producing Nick's show last year. So this isn't Paul is now, just listen to Nick whenever they hop on a call. No. The Chiefs have been my team for the AFC, of who I consistently believe in. At 15-2 last year, I have to listen to you and Jack coming on being like, Paul, this is the power rankings, not the record rankings. And this year, even when they're, off to that terrible start and I have them in my top 10, you're like, you guys are like, whoa, how could you possibly have and now here we are, week 8. As expected, we agree the Chiefs are the best team in football.
To be clear, I've had the Chiefs in the top of my power rankings for weeks now.
Yes. But in week 3, week 4, week 5, I was still getting a lot of flack. I just want this to be like when we're in week 10 or week 12 and you're like, hey, dude, I've been telling you the Chiefs. I want you to say like, Paul and I at least have been telling you about the Chiefs.
Sure.
Okay.
I agree.
Fair enough. But
at no point did I say you don't believe in the Chiefs.
I'm just saying, well, you didn't say I did though. And I don't want this one stolen from me as well.
Yeah, because you asked me, what do you think? Who do you think is the best team in the AFC? I mean, respond that Paul thinks the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. What kind of a response?
Sorry, I got a little defensive.
Well, look, it's and our fans. I'm psychic. I can see the comments in advance. People are going to say you guys have to stop glazing the Chiefs. Kansas City's not good. We've seen a bunch of comments saying,
no, it's not. It's not glaze. It's not glaze. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the Lions are one of the best teams in football. At home, the Chiefs humiliated them. I know the Chiefs suffered a tough loss on the road against the Jaguars. I know they lost to the Eagles at home. I know they lost to the Chargers on the road. Chargers fans seem to think I've forgotten that. But the Chiefs have been consistently good. They've got one of the more efficient offenses. They've finally got everyone back. And at the end, look, I like the Colts. I think the Colts are a good team. They've vastly exceeded expectations. And I think they're going to win a playoff game. I do not think the Colts, you asked me if they're the best team in the AFC. I still think the Bills are better. I still think the Chiefs are better.
I think they're the second best team right now, which like I'm all in on. I think they're really, really good. I think they beat the crap out of you up front. I think Taylor's a monster, and Shane Steichen is coach of the year right now, and we know how good of an offensive play caller he is from his days in Philly. He came over. Now he has all the pieces he needs. And Daniel Jones has been really good. The second point I wanted to bring up, Ziggy, is I do agree with you that it's hard to fully believe in Daniel Jones because of who he's been most of his career. I also think it's unfair for us, and we all do it. We all do this. It's a little unfair to just sit back, because we can always say the Sam Darnolds of the world, the Daniel Joneses of the world, the Baker, I think, may have just gotten out of this, but I'm sure some people still feel this way, that they're gonna choke in the big moment. Like, we have to give Daniel Jones credit. He's been awesome this year.
He has been.
No, I know, and I still agree. I still get what you're saying, that from history's point of view, it's unlikely that he keeps this up. But I feel like that kind of takes the fun out of the run, right? Like, how many seasons have the Vikings had?
Bayes' theorem is not very fun.
No, it's not. It's not. But maybe maybe I just don't want to believe that because I'm enjoying it from Indianapolis. What are you like watching the end of Avatar or something, or like Star Wars on your your computer's blowing up red colors in your face? That's funny. Yeah, I don't think I want to live in that world right now. I want to be in my little utopia where I think Daniel Jones rides this out and can go toe to toe with the best quarterbacks in the AFC when it matters. Because this and it might just be a thing for this year, but he's having a special season, and I'm gonna believe in it. So when it blows up, you can sit back and be like, yeah, I told you this was coming. But right now, I'm gonna pretend that Daniel Jones is gonna ride this out without having the major blow up game. And if that happens, this Colts team has it all in front of them.
Oh yeah, well, the Colts team has one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football. We've been saying for years they'd be really, really good.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is playing like one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football right now.
I just want to think it will continue. I just want to pretend that it will last, and I'm not gonna bite and say that he's gonna fall apart. I'm gonna believe. Very last thing we'll say: Dolphins 34-10 over the Falcons. Tua has 4 touchdowns. Kirk, unfortunately, I wore my Kirk Cousins shirt yesterday. I was so jacked up for his return. Didn't go quite Atlanta's way, who remain one of the weirdest teams in football. Looks great one week, the next week, just terrible. And I get that they had their backup in today, but it's just a strange team. By the way, for everyone who is, I don't know if we had it on air, but Zach and I were arguing whether Tua would be good with the Vikings. I think Tua is a really good quarterback. If the Vikings had Tua Tagovailoa, I'd be very happy. Maybe not happy paying him $50+ million a year, but Tua can throw. All right, that'll wrap it up. This was a pretty long show. I didn't think we intended it to go this long, but you know what?
It's funny. This was a bad NFL slate, and we said, it looks like there's a bunch of bad games. And in fact, most of the games were not very fun to watch. And yet, just because we're entering into week 9 in the NFL, there's a bunch to talk about.
Yeah, there is a ton. So we'll be back hopefully later tonight. We'll put it out. Keep an eye out on our YouTube channel and socials. Jack's currently driving home from Pittsburgh. We're going to try and get him to pay off his debts this evening. We'll see you soon.